Hello and welcome to Top Sim. I'm William Lebowski, and today I bring you the Global Endurance Modding Le Mans 24. And I guess I'm not bringing you the whole event as much as my perspective on my first 24-hour race, which was the Le Mans 24, brought on by Global Endurance Modding. And it was an amazing event. They put a lot of work, both with having their own LMP1 class, and additionally the balance of power that goes into the cars that they apply on their own. As you can see in front of me, that there is an Aston Martin, and beyond him, you can just barely see that there was a GTE AM in front of him as well. And both of these cars really are just able to fly away from you on the straight. And if you look at the timings and the distance, from the rear bumper that I started out from that Aston, you can really see that the BMW M8 GTE just doesn't cut the mustard when it comes to speed. It's a big, chonky boy, and everybody knows that it's, it's slow. And going into the series, the thing about sim racing and the thing about the balance of power is I was expecting that the car would be a little bit more equal on performance compared to the other cars. And when the hot laps started rolling in, the qualifying time started rolling in other cars, specifically the Aston Martin, which of course has the very, very favorable stock balance of power provided by Studio 397. It's definitely the meta car right now. It's the fastest GTE car. It was shocking that we were even driving in the same class, because our fastest lap times were high 350s, like 357, 358, 359 was my fastest lap, was a 359. My teammates able to do faster laps than that, but we were seeing cars in the same class posting times like 354, and really you just can't achieve that without just being faster than the rest of the field. And it was a little bit it wasn't disheartening during the race, because I didn't necessarily realize how close it, I didn't realize that Aston Martin that we started the beginning of the video was actually in my class, and it wasn't until going through the video afterwards realizing how weak the balance of power is towards the BMW M8. But I don't want to spend really any of this video longer talking about balancing balance of powers, anyway, I don't want to talk about the BOP anymore. I really just want to right now talk about my experience on the whole. It was fantastic. It was an amazing experience. It was a lot more fun, a lot more real, a lot more consuming of not necessarily just time, but it was just so much more than I thought it could be. And including the detail, I'm including here a full lap of a night and then the night stint, and I'll have a full lap during the day as well. And just being able to see the track in its day and night variety. I did not race any during sunrise or sunset, so I just have the day and the night from the actual event. But you can just see how much detail goes into R Factor 2 and the feedback system, and how much you're receiving from that road, and how much the guys at Global Endurance Modding are able to add with the signage, again with the custom balance of power. They created their whole LMP1 class. R Factor 2 does not have a hybrid system, so it doesn't have LMP1s, but Global Endurance Modding is able to take a car, mod it from the ground up, and give it some sort of a hybrid type system that even the game doesn't have in existence for itself. So it's amazing that they're able to do that. So, and then coming together with the team, working really well, with the team, and being able to be in different countries, different continents with people, but still have this cohesive plan, and the work that they were able to do, to fix my mistakes and to help me, prevent mistakes. It was just an incredible experience, and honestly one of the coolest, happiest experiences of my life, and I just cannot wait for more. It was just an absolute thrill. So what was my role for the 24-hour race? Specifically, I was first and foremost kind of the night man when it came to the race, because I am in the States. The rest of the guys are in the UK. On the GTE team, we also had an LMP entry, an LMP2 entry. Those guys were both from the States and as well, I think, in Europe and maybe the UK. So that is a little bit more of a varied team in terms of the hours that could go into driver stints and scheduling. But my specific time was I was there to get some driving done in the middle of the UK night. So my first stint started at 6:30 p.m. It was a 2-hour stint. And then my second stint went from 10:30 and it was a 3-hour stint, and it went to 1:30 in the morning, which brought them up to early morning UK time at the end of that stint. So I was really happy to be able to accomplish that, to actually have a role aside from just being able to log time, to log laps. Until the 24 hours was up. So I was really, really happy to be able to do that. And here we have my first pit stop. We can see myself coming in for fuel. Unfortunate news. I am here to share. I think I caught all of the bad things that I did on video. I'm not necessarily sure how much of the great stuff makes its way onto video and how much you can tell, what the great stuff is on video, just because endurance racing, it takes a long time. And here is my one of my biggest mistakes here. I entered the Porsche curves all wrong. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, braked at the wrong time, and you can see I even made contact with another car. Luckily, they did not report that incident because we surely would have been assessed a penalty for that. So luckily, they continued on with the race. Hopefully, that did not impact their race at all. But here I am, really limping back to the pits, and this was really nervous for me because everybody else on my team was gone. They were asleep. And as you can see me bouncing off the walls here, I had no control over this car. I could kind of point it straight, and that was really it. So I just felt like it was going to be any moment that I was going to not be able to control the car. I was going to bring the car back onto the racetrack, kind of like you just saw right there. And it was going to get hit, and I was going to ruin my race and somebody else's race, and the team was going to get penalized. All sorts of that was going through my mind, but it was a terrifying moment to happen when everybody was asleep. I instantly pulled up Discord on my phone as we're in the pits getting repairs to let everybody know what had happened. But this was a slight disappointment. We were running fourth before they gave me the car, and at this point we were still running fourth. But as you can see here, I come into the pit stop, and notice what happens when I get into the actual pit box. My front left tire changed to change it to a soft the second I entered. So that's an RF2 bug. You gotta love it. I mean feature, an R Factor 2 feature. Of course, it was too late to change it, so we are stuck now with this awfully poorly balanced car with second stint tires. And here we go, going through the Porsche curves again, and the car is just completely off. I'm going so much slower than I would otherwise and trying to control it, and it's kind of working, but here we go. We put we have to depend on it right there. It just gives way, so I know that I'm going to have to pit soon. However, this is not the first mistake. I wanted to stay out as long as possible. As you can see, we just have 90 plus liters of fuel out of the 100 liters that are in the tank, and it's really frustrating to have to double pit, and it really costs a lot of time. Luckily, you're not likely to go down as many laps here at Le Mans as you would say, a much shorter track, maybe Nürburgring or something even shorter than that. That was a big disappointment, but here we go into the daylight. I'm getting the car from my teammate who has just done a killer stint. He was absolutely flying, really cleaned up a lot of the mess that I had made in the previous stint that we just saw, that double pit specifically. Got lost in my notes for a second, but we're back. So we entered the pits, and we were 50 seconds behind. We had a 50-second lead on the car behind us. And then after I make the driver swap, and now I'm in control and start my stint, we leave the pits 60 seconds behind the car that had passes us. It is now my point to put my head down and to really try to nail this one. This is final. This is coming after my triple stint, and so we came into this weird spot with the fuel strategy where I had made, we saw that I had made a mistake and didn't take full advantage of the fuel, and there have been a couple other mistakes by other members of the team, and so we didn't have perfect fuel, or not necessarily fuel at this point, but driver swap strategy. So it's now getting to the point where we need to start altering the driver swap strategy so that we can leave the last 2 hours, uninterrupted. It's time to start counting backwards. They kept going over that in the broadcast about how teams, and like we were doing, now it's starting to figure out how are we going to finish this race, what's our final strategy, what's our plan of attack for the last hour or so. And so we kind of got off strategy, and at this point we have an extra hour stint to add in there somewhere. Luckily, our teammate Earl woke up in the middle of the morning, in the middle of the night. It was, I think, like 3 or 4 a.m. their time, and pulled out an extra stint just to put us back on schedule. But now here we are looking at a full daylight lap here. You can just see all of the detail off track. There was a lot of detail on track at night. You could really see all the different lights, the curbs that had reflections and lights on it, and all of the aspects that you just see from only seeing the road and what's lit up by your headlights. But now in the daylight, you can really see the amount of detail that's put into the surroundings. So it really. And that made it an incredible experience. Oh, look at this. There's our LMP2 teammate passing us. It really just made it an incredible experience beyond the amazing racing that was happening. Just the level of... It really felt like we were, in the middle of the actual Circuit de la Sarthe, so to say, instead of just on the virtual version. One thing that did happen, though, is there was a lot of LMP1 brake failures. They took out, I think, like half the class got taken out by brake failures. So what would happen is eventually the LMP1s would go, flying into a corner, go onto the brakes. The brakes don't do anything, and they would just keep going, flying into walls and whatnot. None of that footage made its way into this video. I think I only saw one LMP out of my rear view go flying off the road, but there were several clips posted in the Discord of the series, and seeing those brake failures. It was a war of attrition, and something to think about every single time you saw an LMP1 coming up behind you. It was kind of terrifying. And so at this point, I believe at this point in time, it's about 5 a.m. my time. No, I think it's about between 4 and 5 a.m. my time. And it's at this point where I'm realizing I'm not sleeping. I'm getting very excited. And honestly, what's worse than driving, because driving is all of a sudden you get all of these nerves, you're really nervous, and you take them and you put that in, you channel it into the driving, and it really calms you, relaxes you, and makes you do a better job. But when you're not driving, you're just spending the whole time worrying that you messed something up in the car for the team. You did a poor job with strategy. You gave them the car in a bad position. There's just you're gonna miss coming back for your stint. My biggest fear, even though I was there the whole race, just on and off the headset, right in front of the computer, was that I would have a teammate be like, "Okay, we need to swap right now," but I wouldn't be on the other side of voice chat or something, or just, of course, I think, the thing that everyone was thinking about that they wanted to avoid on any team was, a wreck happening or something like that, and all of a sudden you crash out, you come back for your next stint, and all of a sudden your teammate's like, sorry, no more car. So it's a lot more relaxing to be in the car driving it than it is to be watching the replay, talking to your teammate in the car and seeing what's going on. It was so anxious inside. But here we are leaving the pits with plus 5 seconds of lead here, and you can see all of a sudden it starts to grow. The car behind us looks like they have pit right after us, and so I am now seeing this lead grow. You can see the focus on my face. I really want to put as much time between us and this car as we can. So I extend the gap out to a little bit over a minute, a couple seconds over a minute. Excuse me, 1 minute and 7 seconds, I think, at its maximum. But the BMW is pretty slow, and it was starting to catch up to that fact at this point in the race. Whatever, it's 16 hours in, 18 hours in, 20 hours into a race. I'm realizing that not just my ability that we really do. The BMW really is slower in a straight line. And so I'm just spending this whole time watching this relative, trying to get the biggest gap that I can between us in this car, because I can see the next car ahead of us is 4 laps away. We're sitting in 5th position in class at this point in time, and I want to hold it for my teammates so badly. So I'm starting to drive. I'm really starting to push what my ability is at this point in time, and this was a learning point. I think this is one of the biggest things I've learned, because we're going to see another one of my mistakes coming very soon. And the thing I learned, the thing that I learned that I didn't quite learn, that the expression I believe that I always was thinking about for this race was that it's much better to lose tenths at Le Mans than it is to lose laps. It's much better to back off and have to go through the Porsche curves than it is to crash into Porsche curves and ruin your race. And so I'm thinking tenths. But really, I should have been thinking seconds. It's better to lose seconds than it is to lose tons of position and strategy time by making huge mistakes. And so we can see the gap now is shrinking. It's down to 38 seconds. I'm just coming back and forth, checking the gap. 34 seconds. Every time I check it in the same spot on the straight, they're closing it down on me. And my tank now, you can see, heading into Tetra Rouge, I've made a mistake going through that corner. I'm trying to push to make up lots of time. I miss the apex here, and what do you know, we lose traction into the wall pretty hard. The rear wing is gone, the front end is smashed, and I still have what is almost half a tank. So we have 37 liters out of 100, and a code 80 comes out. And so this really is this really was a deal breaker. I guess the code 80 is not out yet. As you can see here, here's another car that's making their way through. We did not make any contact with them. They just kind of blew the corner and ended up flying straight through the gravel here, in which that triggered the code 80 immediately for the car with suspension damage and no wing. I imagine they saw that car flying through the gravel and thought it was me, the person with all of the damage. But anyway, so we have a code 80 out. At this point now, since it's a really long code 80, I link up with my teammate, and we're going to perform the driver swap. He's going to go in for the last 2 hours of racing, and you can see that they're 11 seconds behind us. But the big problem here is going to be the fuel. I'm going to hand the car off to my teammate, just for everything. He likes it. Obviously, they're going to go back and forth into the pits, but when it comes down to it, we were 0.7 liters shy on fuel, and ended up needing to do an extra splash and dash, and as a result of that, we lost the position. And you can see here, right after my stint, the emotion is running high, as a RF2 has a little bit of a bug, and it makes it feel like he flies off the track. But that was my 24-hour race experience. You can just see all of the emotion that went through, and it was an incredibly emotional, incredibly fun, and incredibly addictive, but also this amazing test of endurance and willpower. I can't wait for the next one. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys thought and what you guys learned from your 24-hour races. We'll see you in the next one.